So as we saw in the introduction, this module will bring everything that you learned into one single project.
Yeah, we can build a game.
So the game that we're going to build is the one that John is playing right here. It's a Space Invaders game.
Oh, lost.
Okay, let's give it another try. So we will collect first the requirements for this game. A requirements document is the part where we start.
So a requirements document is a legal contract between the developer, which is you, and the customer, which will purchase your software.
So the requirements document has to spell out in great detail the requirements of what the system ought to look like, what are its features, what its form factor should be, and what the cost ought to be, and what components it may or may not include, so that a standard can be developed. So now we'll look at what discussions or exchanges go in building the requirements document.
The requirements document has three parts. The first is an overview. Why are we doing this project? We're doing this project to put together all the pieces of this class. And in particular, we're going to build a 1980s style shoot 'em up game like Space Invaders. The second part of the overview is the process. And the process for developing this game will be like all the other labs, and that is we will begin with a starting point or a starter project, and you will add features to this starter project to meet the requirements of this lab.
So John, are you saying that they don't have to design this project from scratch?
That's what that means. The other aspect of this project, which is different than the other labs, is since we have no grader that will automatically grade your lab, we encourage you to find teams and work together to perform or to develop your game in teams. We suggest somewhere between 1 and 3 members of your team. The most important part of the requirements document that you want to look into is exactly how does your game fit. In other words, there are some specific requirements that your game must have. It must be written in C, it has to be developed on Kyle, it has to run on your launch pad, and more specifically, we have decided or defined exactly where the input and output pins are located. By specifying exactly where the pins are, this will allow one student to play the game of another student. When reading the requirements document, you will see we'll use specific terminology like bump files, sprites, and public documents, and you can read those definitions. We are worried about you spreading viruses from one student to another, so we are only going to allow the upload of one source code file. And since this game is not required for your final course grade, you don't have to actually upload it.
Okay, so you're saying that if I build the software, I could send you my project, just one single file which has all the source code, and you will run it, and it'll work perfectly on your system because you built the hardware exactly to specification that my software is following.
Absolutely. That allows us to play each other's games. The second part of the requirements document is the functional description, and it specifies exactly what the system will do. It'll be an 80s style video game with inputs and outputs. These are the phases of development. You will find a team, if you would like, define exactly what the rules of your game will be. We'll specify the modules, the various hardware and software components. We will organize or architect your software by defining prototypes for the public functions. And then one by one, you will test the modules. And then once all the modules are tested, you will put them together to create a system.
So one of the things it looks like, John, is that you're hiding all the details of the implementations by exposing only the prototypes or public functions to the other modules.
This is a common development process for larger systems, and that allows more than one person to work on the project at a time. We'll evaluate the beauty or the wonderfulness of your game by two very, very simple properties. Is it easy to learn to play the game? And second, is your game fun to play?
Oh, you mean if I have to read a document to play the game, it's not easy.
It's not easy.
And if I have to turn a knob a certain way or do 7 things before I can make a missile fire, that's not fun to play.
No, and we'll have an option to allow you to share your game with other students in the class. The usability is exactly how it is the game will occur. And as I said, we will have very, very, very explicit pins which must be for your input and your output. And these requirements are specified in detail. And it will allow one student to play the game of another student. And again, because we're worried about spreading viruses, we will only take one C file of all your programs in text form. All right. And the last part of a requirements document is the deliverables. We won't make you write a report, but we do encourage you to put comments in your C file. We don't have any audits, but we will allow you to talk about your game in the forums. And the ultimate deliverable, like we said, will be one large C file that we can upload and share with the class. All right, let's start building.